Welcome to Conversations with Kate, the podcast where we delve into the stories, ideas, and insights that shape our lives. Join me as we engage in thoughtful discussions with fascinating guests from all walks of life. Get ready to listen, learn, and connect. All right, let's set the scene. It's the 14th century, and Europe is coming out of what historians often call the Dark Ages. Then, bam, this incredible movement we now call the Renaissance begins. It's like the world suddenly hit play on curiosity and creativity, and out of it comes this immense cultural rebirth.
Exactly. And if we think about it, this rebirth wasn't something that just happened overnight. It was more like a gradual rediscovery of ancient Greek and Roman texts that had been tucked away for centuries. Enter humanism, a philosophy centered on the potential and achievements of people rather than solely on divine authority.
Right, and that's where it gets fascinating. Humanism wasn't just about dusty philosophy books. It lit the fuse for advancements in so many areas: science, politics, literature, and of course, art. Actually, and you're going to laugh, but visiting the Uffizi Gallery in Florence is where this all clicked for me. Walking through those stunning rooms overflowing with works by Botticelli, Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci, I could feel the enormity of what patronage and new ideas brought to life.
Well, it's not surprising. Florence was at the centre of it all, driven by powerful families like the Medicis, who essentially bankrolled much of the Renaissance. Their patronage didn't just support art, but also scientific inquiry. Think of Galileo later on, or the anatomical studies featured even in artistic works.
Like Da Vinci's notebooks, right? I remember seeing those sketches, and it's like his curiosity had no bounds, mixing art, engineering, and biology. How crazy is it to think his anatomical drawings not only advanced art, but also influenced science?
Very crazy and brilliant. His detailed studies of the human body introduced unparalleled realism to sculpture and painting, embodying this humanist belief in the dignity and capability of humanity. But, it wasn't just individuals. Entire cities became competitive centres for this creativity. Each one seemed to want to outdo the others in fostering innovation, whether through their artists, architects or writers.
And those artists were elevated, weren't they? Before this, artists were basically seen as craftsmen. The Renaissance turned them into larger-than-life figures, celebrities even, in their own time.
Absolutely. Another thing that made the Renaissance era unique was its push beyond tradition. You had thinkers like Machiavelli in politics redefining governance as practical and honestly cutthroat dynamics rather than divine right. It was all about observing reality and making incremental change rather than relying on the status quo or religious decrees to guide decisions.
And I guess that laid the groundwork for what came next, right? Building this bridge from the medieval mindset into something way more modern. So, coming out of the Renaissance, those transformative ideas of humanism and the surge of creativity didn't just fade away. They built momentum. Fast forward about 100 years and bam, Johannes Gutenberg drops the ultimate game changer, the printing press. And holy cow, Andrew, this thing didn't just revolutionise how people made books. It flipped society on its head.
Absolutely. Before Gutenberg, copying a book was basically the medieval version of binge watching, a massive time commitment minus the fun. It could take scribes weeks, even months, to replicate a single copy. Then Gutenberg comes in with movable type, and suddenly you can churn out hundreds of books in, a fraction of the time.
Right, and the effects were instant. Suddenly, average folks, not just the elite, could actually access knowledge. It started breaking down those cultural and educational barriers. Like, literacy exploded, And as more people could read, they started, questioning things. Cue the Reformation, political reform, and just a tiny bit of religious chaos.
A tiny bit indeed. It's wild to think about how much influence this one invention had. The Catholic Church was scrambling to keep control, trying to ban and censor books left and right because it couldn't monopolise written communication anymore. Suddenly, one renegade publication could reach thousands of people. It's chaos.
And beautiful chaos. I mean, think of Martin Luther printing the 95 Theses. His ideas spread like wildfire. And politics too, right? Leaders start using print to push their agendas. It's crazy to think how this opened up entirely new ways to sway public opinion.
Absolutely. And, it really hit me how similar this is to what's happening today with digital technology. I was at a tech conference last year.
Here we go. Enlighten me, Andrew.
Okay, so I was listening to a speaker comparing Gutenberg's press with our modern-day internet. It's this idea that both technologies unleashed massive waves of information, too much, too fast sometimes. The printing press flooded the world with books and ideas in the 15th century. Today, we're drowning in tweets, blogs, and AI-generated deepfakes. But it's the same core challenge. How do you handle a sudden explosion of knowledge?
Oh, that's such a good connection, especially with misinformation running rampant. I mean, even back then, there were pamphlets spreading nonsense alongside game-changing texts. But here's the thing. Wasn't it also a creative boon? You've got philosophers, scientists, artists all using this tech to reshape the world as they knew it.
Definitely. By making text cheaper and more uniform, the press didn't just spread others' ideas, it actually shaped the birth of modern science. Scholars could finally share findings consistently, compare results, and build on each other's work. That foundation laid the groundwork for the scientific revolution.
And for modern publishing. Can you even imagine a world where books are handwritten? These days, we're spoiled by 2-day shipping for our reading fixes, thanks to, Amazon. But wow, back then, just owning a book must have felt like holding magic in your hands.
It did, no doubt. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. Entire professions like scribes were wiped out. That tension between advancement and upheaval mirrors what we see with AI today. Jobs are changing, some disappearing, but new industries are constantly emerging too.
Same story, different century, huh? All right, Andrew, it's fascinating how the printing press set off waves of change, but the march of innovation doesn't stop there. Fast forward a couple of centuries, and here we are in the late 18th century. Close your eyes and imagine the world starting to hum with the rhythm of machines, textile looms spinning jennies and steam engines. Welcome to the industrial age, where Stephenson's rocket isn't just some cool idea. It's a symbol of how everything was literally picking up steam.
That's such a vivid image, Kate. The steam engine, though, is where the real magic begins. It's hard to overstate its impact. Take James Watt, for example. His improved steam engine with the separate condenser, that wasn't just an upgrade, it was a linchpin. It powered industrial-scale production, transformed mining, and revolutionized transportation. Suddenly, the limits of human and animal power became, irrelevant.
It's kind of wild, isn't it? And can we talk about transportation? Steam engines weren't just for factories. Trains like Stephenson's rocket famously connected people and goods in ways no one had imagined before. Cities grew, trade exploded, and suddenly it's like, hey, let's build an empire on steel rails. But you know what's ironic? This speed and progress didn't come without resistance.
Yes, the Luddites. I feel like they've become cultural shorthand for anti-technology, but their story is surprisingly nuanced. These were skilled workers, artisans, who saw their livelihoods disappearing thanks to mechanization. Machines like the power loom basically wiped out the demand for their craft, and the Luddites responded by smashing the very technology displacing them.
Right, but you can't exactly blame them. If you think about it, they weren't fighting progress. They were fighting the economic fallout. It must have been terrifying to watch your skills, your entire way of life being crushed under the weight of a mechanical revolution. I mean, isn't it a little similar to some reactions we're seeing with AI today?
Absolutely. There's this recurring pattern, isn't there? Technological progress introduces these incredible leaps forward, but the disruption it causes, that's almost a constant. Back then it was guilds and artisans being replaced by factories and mass production. Now it's data analysts or customer service reps wondering if a chatbot's about to take their job.
And yet here we are, still benefiting from it all. The industrial age gave us, I don't know, modern cities, mass-produced goods, global trade, you name it. Let's face it though, the human cost was enormous, wasn't it? Unsafe factories, child labour, not to mention the pollution.
No question about it. The living conditions in those rapid growth industrial cities were often appalling: overcrowding, diseases and smog-filled streets. If we look at early photographs, they almost feel dystopian, and yet this was the price paid for urbanization and technological transformation. It's a reminder that progress always comes with trade-offs, and managing that is the tricky part, even today.
Exactly. But you know what's striking to me? For all the upheaval, people adapted. Society didn't crumble, it restructured. You had labour unions emerge, safety laws pass, and eventually the benefits of industrialisation started reaching the working class. It gives me some hope that maybe we'll figure out how to handle AI disruptions too.
Hope is key, but adaptation wasn't and isn't instant. The Luddites took years before laws and reforms came into play, just like today's debates around AI ethics and regulation. The parallels are fascinating, aren't they?
Oh, absolutely. And those parallels remind us. Picking up where we left off, Andrew, those parallels between the industrial age and today's AI era are just too fascinating to ignore. It's all about adaptation, isn't it? The steam age had its challenges, but it also set the stage for transformative growth. Do you think we're seeing history repeat itself?
Absolutely, Kate. Technology often feels like it hits the accelerator on societal change. The steam engine didn't just power factories, it powered upheaval, throwing established ways of life into chaos. And now AI is doing much the same thing, although with code, not coal.
Exactly. Look at the similarities: job displacement, fear of the unknown, and even the loud calls for regulation. But you know what's wild? Despite all the disruption back in the 18th and 19th centuries, people adapted. I wonder, can we say the same for AI's rapid-fire pace?
Well, I'd argue adaptation is inevitable, but it's messy. The Industrial Revolution brought us labour unions, social reforms, and entirely new classes of profession. With AI, I think we're in a much tighter race against the clock, though. Machine learning and automation are progressing at exponential rates, leaving very little room for slow societal adjustments.
That's a good point. And let's not forget back then, it wasn't just about factories. We saw sweeping cultural changes, how cities evolved. Entire communities had to restructure themselves. It wasn't just the loss of artisan jobs, it was an entire way of life being turned upside down.
Right. And that's where AI presents its own unique twist. While industrial machinery replaced human brawn, AI is creeping into roles that require brain power, jobs we once thought were secure. We're seeing that shift from physical labour to cognitive automation. It raises so many questions about what happens to human agency in the workplace.
Yeah, and yet opportunity, right? I mean, at its core, AI opens doors, like enhancing healthcare or fighting climate change. Sure, job displacement is scary, but think of the industries we haven't even imagined yet. Does that optimism resonate with you?
It does. And honestly, history backs it up. Disruption gives way to new opportunities, but, and here's the catch, it requires conscious management. Take teaching. AI tools might automate certain tasks, but the human role of an educator won't disappear, it'll evolve. The trick is navigating that evolution responsibly.
Oh, responsibility. That's the word, isn't it? Regulation, ethical integration. It all ties back to accountability. Unlike in the industrial age, where change was often reactive, we've got a chance to get ahead of the curve here. Do you think we're taking it?
I'd like to think we are, but it's a fragile balance. The ethical questions AI brings, like bias in algorithms or data privacy, aren't just technical issues, they're societal ones. It's all about asking who benefits, who's left behind.
And that's the kicker, isn't it? The industrial age shaped modern life in ways those early inventors probably couldn't have dreamed. AI is going to do the same, but we're in the driver's seat. So, Andrew, final thought, where does AI take us next?
Well, if history is our map, progress isn't a straight road. It twists, turns, and sometimes backtracks. But if we chart the course thoughtfully, AI has the potential to create a fairer, smarter, and more connected world. It's just going to require a lot of work and a healthy dose of hope.
Hope. I like that. And on that note, thanks for joining us on this journey through innovation, from Renaissance palettes to artificial intelligence. This has been one for the books. Take care, everyone, and see you next time. That wraps up another insightful conversation with Kate. Thank you for joining us, and we hope you've enjoyed our discussion. Until next time.